All right, guys, it's a good day for Jazz Nation. The Utah Jazz have re-signed Derrick Favors and Jordan Clarkson. Let's talk about how this helps the Jazz. All right, the Utah Jazz have just had a really nice free agency so far. We haven't seen a Donovan deal yet. We haven't seen a Rudy Gobert deal yet, but I'm guessing that's because these two deals, the Derrick Favors and the Jordan Clarkson, were the more kind of up in the air a little bit, that they might or might not happen. I honestly was actually surprised about the Jordan Clarkson deal because I felt like he could go to a bunch of different places. That's actually a really great thing for the Utah Jazz to be able to bring him in. And at that number, I believe it's like $13 million a year. 4 years, $52 million. So about $13 million a year. And that's about what he was making before, maybe a little bit more. What's nice is that after next season, the cap's going to keep going up. So that number gets even better every single year as the Jazz cap rises. That's actually a really nice deal for them. You know, it might be a little bit high cap this season for the Jazz, and I believe the Jazz are over their cap. I'm not quite sure where they are in the luxury tax, but I think they will get there if they do a Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell deal. I'm pretty sure they will. I'm not a cap expert, but if you want to mention the cap in the comments or whatever, go ahead and let me know. But these deals are really nice. And then you have Derrick Favors for 3 years, $27 million. I believe both deals, I'm not totally sure, both deals are a player option the final year. But these are fantastic moves by the Jazz. Last season for Utah, the biggest problem for Utah was the bench. It was the bench. The starting unit was solid and could roll with everyone. But the bench just was a sieve. It just gave up so many points. You know, and so last season, midway through the year, they trade for Jordan Clarkson. It fixed the offensive problem because the Jazz couldn't score any points on their bench last year, and they couldn't stop anyone from scoring from last year. And last time I checked, that's a bad formula to score points. Typically in basketball, you want to be scoring more than the other team and allowing them to score less than you do. That's, you know, I mean, that's the analytics we're looking for here on this channel, right? You came here for the great analysis. That's what you're getting. But anyways, we had two centers that just didn't work out. First off, we started off with Ed Davis, and that was bad. It did not go well. I thought Ed Davis would be better than he was, and it was, I mean, he was unplayable. Unplayable. So the Jazz move him. Then we bring in Tony Bradley. And Tony Bradley had moments where he played well. I would say he played really well against really bad teams and had nice nights, you know, and he found ways to like be impactful in some games here and there, but for the most part, he was just not good, you know, especially against good teams. I mean, honestly, you can go look back at the playoffs against Denver, and those minutes with Tony Bradley were disastrous. And considering how every single game in that series seemed, except for 2 blowouts that Utah won, came down to like last-second shots. And, you know, when you're that close and you have someone on your team like Tony Bradley or Ed Davis that are just an absolute sieve, giving up points like crazy, that, I mean, honestly, people talking about Bojan Bogdanovic, if we'd have had him on the team, then they would have beat the Denver Nuggets. Probably. But the thing that's probably more likely is that if Derrick Favors was backing up Rudy Gobert at that second unit, then the Jazz likely win that series pretty easily. Because Derrick Favors and Joe Ingles together is an unbelievable combo with that second unit. So this season, you're probably going to see a little bit revitalization of Joe Ingles, because you're going to have Joe Ingles, Derrick Favors pick and roll in that second unit. And you're going to see that every single night. And I'm guessing that Joe Ingles is going to be running that point guard for that second unit, along with Jordan Clarkson playing shooting guard and Derrick Favors playing center. And that's your 8-man lineup. And you just roll with that. Because if you have Donovan Mitchell, Royce O'Neal, Bojan Bogdanovic, Rudy Gobert, I guess we'll figure out what that 4 spot is. Maybe it's Derrick Favors starts and then switches to backup center. Or maybe the Jazz are going to figure out someone out there, you know, like I don't know. There might be someone out there they picked for power forward, or maybe you play like a Jawan Morgan or a Miaoni, because apparently, according to Tony Jones, those guys look like they're being propped up by the Jazz. The Jazz are excited about those guys. Plus, Utah just had a pick for Udoka Azubuike and Hughes. Let's see. Yeah, Elijah Hughes. So you now have some more depth for Utah, and they're going to figure it out. My guess is we probably see a little bit of Juwan Morgan, and I would not be surprised if he actually starts for Utah. And then you have Derrick Favors off the bench because you want to keep Favors healthy. Then maybe in the playoffs you start Favors and rotate him off because the Jazz now have the shooting around. Oh, I forgot. Mike Conley. Duh. So you have Mike Conley, Donovan Mitchell, Royce O'Neal, Bojan Bogdanovic, and Rudy Gobert. So you have like a lot of depth on this team. So it's going to be fine. The Jazz are going to be fine. They are set. And you can see this Jazz building around the edges. They still have, I think, a biannual exception that they can use, although they might wait till next year. We'll see what happens. And then this trade deadline, who knows? Maybe they just are solid and they try to fill a hole. Maybe there's an injury and you can make a trade to fill it. Or, you just roll. Maybe... who knows what happens by trade deadline. But right now, the Jazz roster is set. It is set to go. So this Jazz team is going to be really good. And that backup center position is going to be locked in, And it's nice to get Udoka Azubuike. I was thinking about it today. My guess is Josh Green was the pick because we heard all about the Jazz went to dinner with him. He met with Joe Ingles. All these different things. My guess is he was the pick. And then when he went 18 to Dallas, the Jazz were like, well, you know what? We can get this Azubuike, who we like, that can back up Derrick Favors and Rudy Gobert. It gives us incredible depth at our center position, and that position is very important to the Utah Jazz. I know a lot of people will say, like, well, centers need to be stretched and all these things, but all three of these centers that the Jazz have now are elite rolling big men. Derrick Favors is as elite as Rudy Gobert is. Derrick Favors can do a little bit of pick and pop, but they both finish at the rim. And then Azubuike, as we've seen in college, is a very much like Rudy Gobert, dunks everything. Lob threat, plays the pick and roll, huge body. And so we'll see. There's going to be times where you can rest Derrick and play Azubuike against bad teams especially and let him get some run, and he'll be good. 4-year senior, he looks really solid. So it's going to be a fun team to watch this year. It's the team we expected last season, but it will be this year we get to see it because the holes in the team have been filled. Mike Conley now kind of understands the system. Donovan Mitchell is becoming his superstar self, and we'll probably see his deal soon. And then you've got Rudy Gobert, who the Jazz are negotiating with right now. We'll see what happens. My guess is you see that deal take about a week or so. Don't be surprised if it takes a week or so. My guess is that happens. But there is like a slim chance that it does not go well. And in that case, the Jazz have some nice security in Derrick Favors and Azubuike. And then if that happens, then the Jazz might do some crazy who knows what. But for now, this Jazz team is locked in and ready to go. My guess is that Rudy Gobert happens. There is, I would say, 80% chance. There is a small chance it does not. But my guess is that this happens with the Jazz. They figure something out with Rudy. It may be through December that something happens. We will see. But that's something I would just watch. All right, so that's what we're going to expect, and maybe it'll be tomorrow. Maybe the Jazz are talking right now, and maybe they can just figure it out with Rudy. But my guess is we might be hearing a Rudy deal in like a week or two. All right, guys, that's all I've got tonight. Make sure that you like and subscribe. It's going to be a fun season. It's coming back. I can feel the excitement, guys. Make sure you're putting on notifications and everything. The channel is growing. SLC Dunk is growing. I'm the new site manager, by the way. New site manager, baby. New site manager. This isn't even a Jazz jersey. Why am I doing this? Talk to you later.